Christy is my dear, dear, dear friend. She is one of my son's best friend's wives. And she is an amazing, amazing woman. She spent so many years getting her architect degree and then having to get licensed in Arizona and then in Minnesota and now in Iowa. And she specializes in building hospitals and hospital wings. And she'll tell you all about what it takes, and she's such a positive, wonderful person, and I hope you'll come back and talk to some of the kids another time.
Absolutely, I love doing this stuff.
And she's a woman in a man's field, and I just love her. I'm so glad that you could come to me.
Thank you. Well, I'm Christina Mayman. I am an architect. Do you guys know what architecture is? Designing buildings. Probably the biggest myth is that we actually build buildings, and we don't. We just come up with the ideas, and we detail them, and we design them, and then we send off drawings, and then contractors build them. But yeah, architecture is designing spaces in which we all inhabit. So it's anything from schools to your house to, like Donna said, I do hospitals, courthouses, I mean anything that's a built environment an architect has designed. And it's not just one person, it's a team of people, and that's what I think is the best part of my job, is interacting with my clients, but also with my peers. Architecture is a really broad, it takes a lot of skills, and not one person has all the skills. So I tell everybody, if you're interested in architecture, you'll find a path within it that you're really good at. So like, I'm not really the greatest designer in the world. I'm honestly not, but I'm a really good planner. And what a planner does is make sure the floor plan works, the workflows work. So while I'm not the greatest designer, I'm a really good planner. I'm also not very good in math. Like, that's the question, do you have to be good at math? You need to know a little bit of math, but don't let it scare you away. Like, you have to take a few tests in math, but if you're not really great at math, that's okay, it's no big deal. I think in general, the key is just being creative, liking to work with a team of people, and really understanding what your clients' desires are and their goals, and being able to come up with new ideas. So if you're creative and like to sketch and like to draw and like to build things, that's what architecture is really about. Does that make sense? I mean, if you're good at math, that's good. That's like a plus. Don't make you scared away. I decided I wanted to be an architect when I was about your age. I was in middle school and I was taking some industrial tech classes because I really didn't like sewing or cooking. So I was taking a metals class and like a hand drafting class, and it was the same teacher, and so he was having me draw the same thing that I made in metals class, and he said, "You should be an architect." And I said, "What the heck's an architect?" I didn't even know what it was. It didn't even, like, my parents weren't architects. My mom was an accountant. My dad was a computer guy. Like, I didn't even know what that was. But he just really encouraged me. I took a lot of art classes in high school, some physics, and then I went to Iowa State University, and it's a 5-year program. It's in the College of Design, which is so fun because you get to interact with graphic designers and landscape architects and interior design, which really helps you in the real world because that's what you do. So while I do the floor plan, right, someone else designs the exterior, someone else works on the interior, and we all work on it together as a team. We also interact with engineers, right, so they design the lighting and the plumbing and the structure. You can look in this room. This is a good example. You guys have had some problems here, some leaking in this room. So this is a good example of you have to coordinate with your plumber and your mechanical engineer and your lighting engineer. And so it really just takes a team of people to work on projects together. If you don't, people are really surprised when they come to our office. We don't actually have individual offices. We work in an open room just like this. So you work on your computer, and then you get your team together and you do a lot of hand sketching and coming up with ways in which to detail buildings. Obviously you need to know about materials, exterior materials. You want to make sure you keep the rain out, right? Like, that's like the basics. But really it's just a profession in which you get to be creative and you get to design, and it's really the best job ever. I don't know why anybody would want to do anything else, really. I design hospitals, which is really important to me. I really feel like the spaces in which people get health care when they're most vulnerable, when they're most scared, when they're most sick, designing those spaces I really think makes an impact on their lives. And that's what I like to do, is I like to help patients and the staff and surgeons and do all their job better. And I kind of joke, I save lives. I feel like I save lives daily, which is just like kind of a joke, but no, for real, we really do. So I was going to show you a few kind of projects that you might have seen. These aren't projects I worked on, but they're projects my office has worked on. Has anybody been to the Sportsplex? Have you at least seen it when you've driven by? What do you think? Is it cool?
It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty cool, right? So if you go down and you hit the, oh yeah, so this is kind of, these are pictures. So this is Mike, he's one of the partners of the firm, he was on it, but this truly is, I mean, hand sketches. We do a ton of just thinking about ideas. We talk a lot about, I say a lot, my bad idea pile is like this big, and my good idea pile, it's okay, it doesn't matter. It's actually, you learn from your mistakes and coming up with, having a bad idea pile this bad is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. You only need one good idea, right? And it might take you like 3 or 4 bad ideas to get to the good idea, but that's what makes it fun. So we really do a lot of hand sketches, and here's some actual construction photos. So,
do you want me to go here?
well, this is just our process, which
Okay.
we kind of talk about like a 5-step process. One's like discovery. So we always say we never design anything right away. We have to just talk. What is the client's goal? Is your goal to design a school? Well, what kind of things do you need in the school? And we have questions and ways in which we try to get them to think outside of the box. So while you go to school here every day, this is what you think school should be like. But let's think broadly about how other ways people learn. We actually did a really great school in Des Moines recently that's it's about interactive learning. So it's for students who might not go to college. It's more for students who might take career paths that are not through college, so more like trades. So it's really getting those trades people into the school and learning different, becoming an industrial plumber or something like that. So even schools are thinking about ways in which kids learn differently than what, when I went to school, we didn't even have like a computer lab like this, right? Like you just think about like one room schoolhouses. It started with everybody in one, and how how it's evolved to learn differently. So I think that's one thing in architecture, is just coming up with new ideas and bouncing ideas around with your clients to come up with what could be a new and exciting way to do things. So like the Sportsplex, no one ever thought Waterloo of all places would get the Sportsplex, but the city came together and it's been really successful. Here's a bunch of photos of it. These are like the nice nighttime photos. Here's the inside. This gym court, there's a track that goes all around it. Obviously projects, you have budgets that you have to stick to, and there's, it's not like it's a free-for-all, but the idea is being creative. So coming up with ways in which this is a soccer field. Those wood panels look really great.
So you think about function and beauty.
Yeah, right? I mean, even like
works,
healthcare. I design healthcare, and people don't really think that there's much design to it. It's really kind of a cross between technical things and not, but you can find beauty in anything. And it doesn't have to cost a fortune either. I mean, that's another way to be creative, is to come up with, beautiful things that don't cost $1 million. The other project I was going to show you, have you been to Hoover Middle School? Have you played basketball or anything? You have. Right, so we just took, again, I didn't do this project, but they did a new cafeteria. So this is Cody in our office. He actually only has a 2-year degree. He didn't actually go to school for 4 years or anything like that. So he has a 2-year technical degree from Hawkeye, and he's great. He does a lot of our CAD drafting and things like that. So, I mean, you don't have to, he can never become an actual licensed architect. He'll always be employed within an architecture firm. We have lots of people that are on staff. We have graphic designers, interior designers. We actually have a data analyst on staff. I didn't even know what the heck that was, but he's awesome because he does all of our research and crunches the numbers and does all that stuff. Like, if I have a client that wants to figure out where an urgent care should go, he'll take all the numbers of the population and does all that math stuff I'm not very good at, and then like, oh, this is where one should be. So we have all sorts of different people on staff. But so this is their cafeteria. They didn't ever have a cafeteria before. It was like a cafeteria and a gym and a performing arts all together. So they actually do have this cafeteria now. I'm a mentor for a 6th grader here in STEM. So STEM are like science, technology, engineering. I like to think I bring the arts and make it a little bit of a STEAM.
There you
bit of
go.
STEAM.
I like that.
But so I'm in Hoover like literally every Monday, and it does not look like any of those photographs. It looks like more like your lunch line where it's like crazy people and you have to communicate. But this is their new addition, which they needed a lunchroom. They didn't have one before. So those are 2 sort of local projects that we have. If you go to our website under projects, you can find all sorts of different. You can see we kind of do education, healthcare, athletic, civic, commercial, all of that stuff. So we actually have 2 offices, one in Des Moines and one in Waterloo. We have about 60 employees on staff, but like I said, not all of them are licensed architects. It takes a village, right? And it takes all kinds of people. So while I'm not good at math, there's another guy next door who's really good at it, and we peer up together and tag team. You have to figure out, like, there's building codes and life safety codes that you have to make sure your building, fits in. The actual deliverables are a set of drawings, but it's also a big book of typed, they're called specifications. So it'll tell you all about, like, this brick and this stud and this gypsum board and you gotta have. So there's someone who just types the specifications. So if you're really good at writing, you could have that skill set, or if you're really good at drawing, you could do the design skill set. So architecture is a really, really broad based profession, and don't feel like you have to be good at it all. You really just need to be good at one thing to be able to excel in it.
I'm interested in materials. Do you learn about new materials, or do you pretty much stick to materials that you're already familiar with?
No, we do all sorts of new things. So we do.
Technology keeps creating.
Yeah, you have to stay up on new technologies and.
So you have researchers and stuff
We
like that?
we do have some researchers. We also rely on vendors.
Oh,
So
sure.
right, they'll sell the products and then come into that. We kind of have a lunch and learn probably once a week, where someone's in the office telling us about whatever their product is or whatever they're the expert, right? They've invented it, so we'll just figure out ways in which to use it.
Like with the materials, do a lot of the time, does just the client specify what materials they want, or how much, like?
No, we do. So if you take like an exterior design, we'll usually come up with like 3 options for them. Usually during that discovery session, we'll do a visioning session where we'll just throw up like exteriors and be like, do you like that one? Do you like this one? Do you like, just to get ideas coming, right? And then based on that field feedback, then we'll go design. A lot of times what we like to do is charrette in the office. We'll take a lot of our younger staff and say, okay, for this 1 hour, we're gonna design this building, and they'll come up with, I kind of think if you make one person do 3 designs, they all kind of look alike. So I prefer to get 3 people to do 1 design and then come up with the ideas. So then you kind of present about 3 concepts to an owner and then present them and see which ones they like and not like. I mean, so like hospitals, most of them are brick. And they've been designed that way 50 years ago. You're never gonna get the same color of brick 50 years later than you did before. So what you see, a lot of hospitals are multiple colors of brick, and it never really looks good.
Yeah.
So we encourage them to use all sorts of new materials, like a terracotta. So a terracotta, think about like a bowl that might be at your mom's house or something. So it is a masonry product, but it's used in a different way, and it really has a really great modern feel. So it kind of blends in the old brick with like, this is what the future goes. But yeah, metal panels, glazing systems, all sorts of different kinds. I mean, you're always gonna have brick, right? It's been around forever. but we usually mix it up with other materials. And I'm honestly not the best in when it comes to exterior design. Like I told you, I'm not a great designer, and I definitely don't detail exterior buildings, but that's what I see from other people in our office.
So can you kind of like blend into other, like you kind of blend into exterior design and like do you do a little bit of interior design, or like where does it like stop?
Well, so when you're like straight out of school, you have to become a licensed architect, you have to obviously experience the whole curriculum. So when you're right out of school, you will learn it all. I mean, I definitely cut exterior sections, but eventually you'll figure out what you're really good at it and what you're passionate about, and then later in your career, that's what you'll zone in on.
So you can like.
So we have people in our office that are fantastic exterior designers. So they pretty much just do exterior design. We have guys that are really, really good at like the code review. They're like code, they know the code frontwards. I know enough to get me by, but I'm not an expert in it. What I'm an expert in is figuring out the floor plans. So while when you first start out, you have to, try it all, but usually you'll figure out what you're best at. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then.
What were you thinking about in particular?
Well, for me, I'm really good at math.
Yeah.
But like it's not my favorite. But
Uh-huh.
then I really like art, so my parents are like, oh my gosh.
That's
you do art,
perfect.
it's
No, I mean, it's a perfect one. If you like art and you like math, because it really is detailed. I mean, it is detailed. You have to figure out, how to not get water through the building, right? You're designing things in inches, but you want to be creative too.
Oh, and so do you work in like, is it an all architect kind of place? Like,
Well, so not everybody's an architect. So I work in downtown Waterloo. We have about 25 people there. Most of them are architects, but not really. We have interior designers, so they help us pick interior finishes, and they'll design like the reception desk or something like that. And then not everybody is an actual licensed architect. Like I told you, Cody isn't. So really, if you want to be a licensed architect, which I would encourage you to do because I feel like the sky's the limit, that takes 5 years of college. And then you have to kind of go through a 3-year training session, and then you take like 7 exams. But don't let that scare you, because we have plenty of people who haven't done that are still employable. Like if that seems like too much to you, don't scare off. Like an interior design, that's only 4 years. They do have a test as well. We have graphic designers, so like wayfinding's a really big thing in buildings. Probably even you've noticed just walking through your school, how do you get here to there? So environmental graphics is what it's called. It's like the signs, right? The signs that you see, and not everybody reads signs, so environmental graphics has been huge. So that our graphic designer just does environmental designs all day long.
I kind of have a couple of like different types of questions. Like,
Yeah.
what program do you use to CAD your
So we do Revit.
Revit?
Yep, so Revit is an Autodesk program that's like, so AutoCAD is like a 2D program, and then Revit is 3D. So we actually model all of our things in 3D now, whereas when I started, it wasn't that way. But so we literally, our computer model looks like the real thing, and we do that so that we can coordinate with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, because you want to make sure, your ductwork doesn't run into a column, which doesn't run into a joist, which doesn't run into a piping. So it's called Revit.
Yeah, I've worked with 3D modeling mainly for robotics work.
Sure, and we do, we render in that as well. You used to have to render in something like Form Z or like Rhino to get the really good, realistic views. We found that our clients, they're perfectly happy with our renderings in Revit. We also use SketchUp right away. Have you heard of that? That's a free program.
Yeah.
This is a SketchUp right here. So SketchUp is a free program, and it's so quick, right? You can just extrude and come up with ideas. So we honestly start in SketchUp and then move into Revit.
Does the file work just fine?
No,
Oh.
you have separate files. So we do SketchUp because it's quick and easy, right? Like you can come up with great ideas to show your client, and then once you decide on something, then you move into Revit. But both of them you can attach materials to, you know, like brick or whatever to come up with ideas.
Another question I had is like a lot of like different social media sites. I follow a lot of artists and such, and like I see a lot of just kind of like small rendering of like a detailed column or something.
Yeah.
What type of artist would you do, and like how much school would you take for that?
For that,
Yeah. Would that be like exterior design?
I don't think so. I mean, there isn't that program, I mean, there isn't that degree. So if it's just a person who's sketching it, probably just like a fine art degree or something, I would guess. I don't
Then
know.
what, then engineers have to
The
figure out how
engin-
to make it?
Yeah, that's
after-
what I'm trying to figure out. So I don't know who actually does that.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just like something like
Yeah, I don't know. Like I had a really good friend in college who got a fine art degree, and he learned how to draw all the like sea animals, and he now works for like a museum. You know, like in Chicago, the aquarium, and he does all their drawing of that stuff. But I think his degree is in art, so I don't know.
How much school and like in high school and stuff, what type of classes do you think you should take?
So, like I said, it was my 6th grade teacher who said you should be an architect, and I was like, oh, all right, that sounds good. I mean, anytime a teacher tells you you're good at something, makes you want to do it. But so I took a bunch of hand drafting classes, which moved into computer-aided drafting. I don't even know if they have that in schools anymore.
Yeah, they still do it.
Do that.
Yeah.
And then I took art classes. I mean, art's really important just so you get used to sketching and.
Well, and the ideas of balance and composition.
Yep, and you should take physics. In college, you'll have to take it, and trigonometry. So you don't have to go as far as calculus. That's too. You don't need to know that. But trigonometry, physics, art classes is what I'd recommend.
Do they like require you to take art classes in high school? Because the art classes I've been in, like
They don't require you to take them, but if you decide to go to Iowa State, which is the only in-state school to get that, and you want to do that because it's cheaper, right? Like you don't want to go out of state because you're going to pay 4 times as much money to get the same. Plus, Iowa State's really good. It's like top 10 in the country. So don't spend too much money to go out of state because you got to pay those loans back, right? So art is going to help you in those design classes because you're going to take a lot of design classes at the College of Design, and those art skills will help you do that. And I remember my first Architecture 101 class, you had to bring in any sort of kitchen utensil. So I brought in a soup ladle, and then you had to make it out of paper, and then you had to deconstruct the paper and make it into something else. That's like, picture yourself on the first day of college thinking you're going to be an architect, and that's what you have to do because they're trying to get you to think creatively and come up with space and forms and ways in which you do it. So, I mean, even a simple drawing class, while not exciting, will get you used to. I mean, I sketch every day, all day long still with markers, so if you just get comfortable with sketching. I can understand your point though about how the art classes. You're a robot guy, so you're ready to design the
Well,
world.
I've been drawing for about 4 years on my own. and
Oh, so
I have
you
a
feel like
basic
you already have it,
understanding,
right?
So I don't like art classes, and that's.
I can understand that. I mean, you want to push yourself, but you probably already have those skills then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you,
And it's like how you specialize in hospitals,
Uh-huh.
or like you so you can kind of do that, like if you like houses or like.
well, so not really. I mean, I didn't learn about healthcare design at all until I started working in the real world. It's like my first job out of school. And it was my first project, and I loved it. It was a cancer center, and I really felt like I was changing people's lives. So I stuck with it. Houses, actually, you don't have to be a licensed architect to design houses. You don't? Nope. There's a lot of builders who do them. I mean, because they're only 1-story or 2-story structures, wood frame. So I would caution you on houses because during economic times, residential architecture, so like in 2008, we had a big recession. Everybody who I went to school with who just only did residential, they all lost their jobs. So I think residential really goes up and down with the economy, whereas things like healthcare, people are always getting sick. get built. I'm not saying you can't do houses.
I
There's
was just
people
gonna
who've
say.
been very successful doing them. You don't actually need a 5-year architecture degree to do them though, honestly. It's kind of another misconception. Is that it?
Yeah, thanks
Alright,
you guys.
thanks. If you guys have, I mean, if you're really interested and if you ever wanted to come to our office, you can just talk to your teachers and you could come get a tour so you could really see like what we do. We could show you some more different types of projects. But it's a really great profession. It feels very rewarding and fulfilling, and it's super fun. Like I would never be someone who could just like sit in an office like working on an Excel spreadsheet every day. There's no way. But if I get to draw and like talk to people and learn new things every day,
And you're on the road a lot too. aren't
I do.
you?
I go
Yeah.
to different clients, so I have client meetings, and that's what's fun. Like I'll be in a meeting with like the top surgeon at University of Iowa. That's so cool to me. Like in my next life, I'm gonna be a surgeon. I swear to you. But so I mean, I think it's just super fun that I get to hang out with people like that are like literally saving lives every day. I just pretend to.
Is it like time, like you can kind of control, like,
How much you work?
well, like, is it like you go to office like every single day at 7 o'clock, or is it more of like, well,
No, most firms have a flexible schedule, so they call it, they call it
I
core
brought something.
hours. So like you have to be in the office from like 9 to 3, but you just have to work your hours. So like I'm a working mom, right? So sometimes I gotta leave to go, pick the kids up from school or something like that. I mean, obviously your work's your priority, like get your work done, but they'll if you work for a firm that's got a good kind of work-life balance. And like I said, I don't sit down. I'm at client meetings all the time, so I'm not at my desk all the time. Am I sending emails at 10 o'clock at night after the kids go to bed? Yep. But did I take my daughter to school this morning at 8:45? Yes. So you just have to like be able to balance it.
And definitely check out the website, you guys, like
Yeah.
all these projects, and there's even a video here about working for Envision.
Yeah.
But the website is envisionarc.com. So just think the first 4 letters of architecture, envisionarc.com.
Yep, so there's a career section that will show you that, projects, you'll see under the about, you can see all the different types of people who work there. And seriously, if you want to come someday, you can just come to the office. I think every time I bring a young person in, they're amazed because they just assume it's like offices, and it's not. It's a wide open studio with people having fun all day long.
Awesome.
Look at that, so you already have your bag of tricks right there.
Yes.
I have one of those in my purse, like, wouldn't go anywhere without it. All right, well, nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.